Iran possesses a formidable conventional military, over 1,000 tanks, more than 4,500 artillery pieces, and 1 million soldiers. Yet, signs of a potential ground war on Iranian soil grow more apparent by the day. The US Department of War and the President are actively studying the feasibility of capturing strategic areas that could serve as future military bases. Two key objectives are reportedly under consideration. The capture of the Khartoum region, likely a reference to a strategic location or a misspelling of a key site like Kharg Island, and more critically, the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil passes. However, military experts warn that such an operation could trigger a full-scale war, as any US effort to seize Iran's coastline would inevitably draw the entire country into a bloody ground conflict. The central question remains, how can the US defeat Iran, a nation with over 1,000 tanks, 4,500 artillery pieces, a million-strong army, and a population deeply entrenched in a rugged, valley-rich terrain that favors defensive guerrilla warfare? To explore this, we turn to the analysis of military strategist Mr. Looming, who provides a detailed assessment based on the first 5 weeks of the US-Israeli air campaign. The air war, establishing supremacy as of May 31st, the US and Israel have entered the 5th week of an intense aerial bombing campaign against Iran. Over 30 consecutive days, coalition fighter jets have flown nearly 10,000 sorties. The US has additionally deployed 3,523 strategic bombers to strike targets deep inside Iran, including missile and artillery storage sites, nuclear facilities, and energy infrastructure. According to research cited by Burin, US and Israeli air superiority over the region is now significantly superior to Iran's defenses. Coalition warplanes have been able to fly low and unchallenged across the entire country, particularly over the Gulf. Secretary of War Donald Trump, presumably a reference to a senior defense official or a conflation with the former president, described this as a wonderful thing, hinting that Iran's integrated air defense system IEDs may be completely destroyed. Israel claims its forces have destroyed over 200 Iranian air defense batteries. Experts believe Iran may have exhausted its surface-to-air missile SAMs, leaving it unable to shoot down enemy aircraft. In 32 days of war, not a single US or Israeli warplane has been shot down over Iranian soil. A few losses occurred outside Iranian territory due to accidents, not enemy action. Both the US Secretary of War and the US Air Force Command, led by General Pern Copper, assert that Iranian airspace is fully under coalition control. Furthermore, General Copper claims that Iran's naval capabilities have been completely destroyed, with an estimated 150 Iranian warships and supply tankers sunk in the Strait of Hormuz and surrounding seas. Iran's missile arsenal, severely degraded but not eliminated. Iran began the war with nearly 4,000 missiles, the majority of which are short-range, while the US claims that Iran has lost 92-95 of its missile inventory. Independent observation suggests otherwise. In the first week of the war, particularly the second week, Iran fired over 100 ballistic missiles in a single salvo at Israel. Since then, launch rates have dropped to fewer than 20 missiles per day. However, Iran continues to fire ICM-class ballistic missiles, the most powerful and difficult to intercept at Israeli targets, US bases, and Gulf countries. For example, on a recent Monday, Iran fired 29 missiles simultaneously at an airbase in Saudi Arabia, located 100 kilometers west of Riyadh. One missile hit a US tanker aircraft, causing a fire. 5 others were intercepted. This indicates that while Iran's missile capabilities are degraded, they are not eliminated. In weeks 1 and 2, Iran launched up to 300 missiles per day. Currently, daily launches range from 50 to 60. Nonetheless, US generals maintain that Iran's artillery and ground-based weapons, many hidden underground or inside mountain ranges, remain the primary target. The bunker-busting campaign to destroy Iran's hidden missile and artillery depots. The US has deployed B-52 and B-15 bombers, dropping 1 to 2 ton bunker-busting bombs designed to penetrate mountains. As of day 32, the US and Israel have struck over 10,000 targets. Iran's air force is effectively non-existent. It cannot fly sorties over Israel or its bases, relying instead on drones and residual missiles. In one incident, Iran lost 3 fighter jets immediately after takeoff, reportedly shot down by Israeli F-35, is using air-to-air missiles. Iran has lost control of its own airspace. Naval warfare. A one-sided destruction. Iran's navy has been effectively eliminated. Unlike missiles that can hide in mountains, warships must operate at sea, making them easy targets for precision-guided munitions dropped from US carrier-based aircraft. To date, there is no confirmed report of a US warship being hit or set on fire by Iranian anti-ship missiles. While the Islamic Republic publicly declares that it will continue the war no matter the price, no matter the time, no matter the peace, privately, its leadership acknowledges catastrophic losses. The ground war delayed timeline from March 31st to April 6th, the end of Donald Trump's term, presumably a reference to a future date, represents a critical decision window. Will the US and Israel launch ground troops into Iran? Iran's ground forces, a formidable adversary area, 1.5 million square kilometers, largest country in the Middle East, tanks, over 400 armored vehicles, over 800 large caliber artillery, over 4500 machine guns, over 100 personnel, up to 1 million soldiers. Prerequisites for a ground invasion. For the US to consider a ground invasion, it must first destroy Iran's heavy artillery, just as it destroyed its missile and air defense systems. If coalition EPA can decimate Iran's artillery bases, then the US might deploy ground troops to seize one or two islands, or the Strait of Hormuz. However, if Iran's artillery remains largely intact, the US will likely not risk a land invasion. A full-scale occupation of Iranian territory beyond limited coastal zones is considered highly unlikely without complete destruction of Iran's ground force weaponry. Geographic and political constraints. Iran is a mountainous country with deep valleys and rugged terrain, ideal for defensive warfare. The Iranian army can hide in countless positions, making complete destruction of all bases nearly impossible. Moreover, no neighboring country has yet given the US permission to stage troops for an invasion. Turkey, which borders Iran, Armenia, and Syria, have all refused to allow US troop deployments along their borders with Iran. Without a land-based staging area, the US would have to rely entirely on a naval invasion, amphibious assaults on Iran's coastline. This is extremely dangerous. If Iran retains even a fraction of its anti-ship missiles, it could sink landing craft and troop transports, each carrying 500 or more soldiers, resulting in mass casualties. The Israeli factor. If the US decides to invade, it will likely rely heavily on Israeli ground forces. Israel has 300,000 minus 500,000 combat troops. Experts estimate the US would need Israeli forces to provide 60100 of the ground combat power. While Israel does not share a border with Iran, it can deploy troops via aircraft carriers and naval assets. In a scenario similar to the 2003 Iraq War, the US used 360,000 troops plus 50,000 from the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, siege from Kuwait. That war lasted 43 days and overthrew Saddam Hussein. But Iran is not Iraq. The 2003 invasion succeeded partly because Iraq's borders with Kuwait and other US allied states provided a land route. Iran has no such vulnerability. The internal factor. Iranian popular resistance. The US and Israel have killed over 40 top Iranian leaders, including senior generals and strategists. However, the Islamic Republic has not collapsed. The regime is uniquely resilient because it fuses political power with religious ideology. Leaders are deeply religious and willing to sacrifice themselves for the regime and their faith. The leadership structure, from supreme leader to Revolutionary Guard commanders, is not a hooligan network, but a disciplined, ideologically driven hierarchy. Internal weakness may only come from economic decline and loss of resources to support the youth and officialdom. Economic collapse, not military defeat, is the most likely path to regime change. The Iranian people's role. In January 2026, massive protests erupted across Iran, with up to 6 million young people taking to the streets. In Tehran alone, 500,000 protesters tried to overthrow the Islamic Republic. The regime responded with live fire, machine guns, and mass arrests, killing and wounding thousands. Since then, the student movement and youth opposition have been brutally suppressed. The Revolutionary Guard has deployed machine guns in villages and urban neighborhoods, and security forces have orders to shoot anyone gathering to protest. The fear of immediate death has paralyzed the opposition. Prime Minister, likely a reference to an Israeli leader, hopes for an internal uprising, but as soon as any sign of rebellion appears, it is crushed. If the water is clear, ants and raw meat fish are likely proverb, meaning that when conditions become transparent, Even small actors can exploit chaos. But for now, the regime's grip remains iron tight. Conclusion: will the US invade? Between March 31st and April 6th, the US will face a critical decision. If coalition airstrikes destroy 90% of Iran's artillery and ammunition depots just as they destroyed its missile and air defense systems, then the US and Israel may decide to send ground troops to seize coastal areas and establish military bases. If not, a ground invasion is unlikely. Scenario: a successful artillery destruction. The US and Israel land troops seize the Strait of Hormuz and one or two islands, and potentially advance toward Tehran. The US would rely on Israeli ground forces for 50100 of the combat power. A new government would be installed. Scenario B: partial destruction. The US refrains from ground invasion, continues airstrikes, and enforces a naval blockade, hoping economic collapse will destabilize the regime. Scenario C: foe destruction. Iran retains significant artillery and anti-ship missiles. Any US amphibious assault risks catastrophic losses. No invasion occurs. Ultimately, Iran's mountainous terrain, royalist army of 1 million, lack of neighboring staging grounds, and the regime's ideological resilience make a US ground invasion extremely high risk. Unless Iran's artillery is almost entirely destroyed, a near impossible task given its dispersion and mountain hideouts, the United States is unlikely to risk a ground war. The coming weeks will determine whether the air campaign has paved the way for a land assault or whether the conflict will remain in the skies, with Iran bleeding slowly but refusing to break.